Among arid deserts and ancient hills of the Middle East, there lies a land marked by profound contrasts: the Holy Land. In it, springs emerge between ancient stones, and the silent sky carries echoes of 1,000 prayers. In this documentary, we invite you to explore the surprising landscapes of Israel and Palestine, a living fusion of wild landscapes and eternal traditions. At the heart of this territory stands Jerusalem, one of the most revered cities on the planet. Its name evokes peace, but its history is marked by conquests, destructions, and rebirths. Since King David made it the capital of Israel through the construction of the magnificent temple by Solomon, to its destruction by the Babylonians in 586 BC, Jerusalem has accumulated scars and glories. The Second Temple, rebuilt with great effort, would also be torn down, this time by the Romans in the year 70 AD. What remains, the Western Wall, still receives prayers from those who have not abandoned their faith. It was in this time of tension and hope that a voice emerged to change the world: Jesus of Nazareth. His words of compassion touched hearts, but also faced resistance. Arrested, tried, forced to carry his cross to Golgotha, he was crucified. 3 days later, according to his disciples, he rose again, and his message echoed beyond the centuries. The Church of the Holy Sepulchre marks the site of his death and resurrection, while the cenacle on Mount Zion preserves the memory of the Last Supper, a moment of farewell and revelation. With the arrival of Muslims in 638 AD, Jerusalem began a new spiritual era. According to Islamic faith, it was from here that Muhammad ascended to the heavens, and to mark this episode, the Dome of the Rock was erected. Its golden dome shines like a beacon of faith over the city. In Jerusalem, everything seems sacred, from the stones on the ground to the prayers floating through the narrow streets of the old city. Each step reveals intertwined stories, and each silence carries 1,000 voices of devotion. Today, the old city of Jerusalem reveals itself as a complex mosaic of interwoven cultures. Divided into 4 distinct quarters, each holds a fragment of the city's soul. In the Jewish quarter, centuries-old synagogues and the Western Wall keep the ancestral faith alive. The Christian quarter shelters the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, a sacred site for millions. The Muslim quarter, the largest among them, pulses with colorful markets and historical mosques. The Armenian quarter preserves unique traditions, proudly transmitted through the centuries. In every alley, memory and spirituality shape the heart of Jerusalem. To the east of the city rises the Mount of Olives, a place revered by various beliefs. Here lies one of the oldest Jewish cemeteries, with over 150,000 graves facing Jerusalem, a symbol of the wait for resurrection. For Christians, the Mount is the setting for decisive passages of Jesus' life: the Garden of Gethsemane, the Church of all nations, and the Chapel of the Ascension, linked to his ascent into heaven. In Islam, it is believed that, at the end of times, a bridge will appear there to guide the righteous to paradise. But beyond the faith, the Mount also offers one of the most breathtaking views of the old city, revealing the Dome of the Rock with its glistening golden dome under the Jerusalem sky. In the 20th century, Jerusalem ceased to be merely a spiritual center and became the epicenter of global tensions. The establishment of the State of Israel in 1948 reignited historical disputes, especially concerning the control of the city. Since then, Jerusalem has come to represent the heart of hopes and pains for two peoples, Israelis and Palestinians. For many Jews, the expectation of a future Third Temple remains alive. For Muslims, the Temple Mount is home to two of the most sacred sites in Islam, a sacred and untouchable territory. But beyond the walls of Jerusalem, in the Palestinian hills, another place echoes through time: Bethlehem. It was there that, according to sacred texts, King David was born, and for Christians, so was the Savior, Jesus Christ. Therefore, Bethlehem became the home of one of Christianity's most important temples, the Church of the Nativity. Ordered to be built in the 4th century by Emperor Constantine, it was erected over the grotto that, according to tradition, sheltered the birth of Jesus. Today, beyond the historical altar, it guards a 14-point silver star that marks the exact spot where, according to faith, the Son of God came into the world. But Bethlehem does not live only on its biblical heritage. The city breathes Palestinian culture in the olive wood sculptures and traditional embroidery, symbols of resistance and identity. And it is on the gray walls surrounding the region that a new voice emerges: the voice of art. Banksy, the mysterious British artist, has transformed the walls of the West Bank into canvases of protest. His works, scattered throughout Bethlehem, confront the occupation with striking images, such as the flower thrower, the girl searching the soldier, and the dove with a bulletproof vest. His criticism, always laced with irony, exposes the wounds of the region with a mix of poetry and outrage. Beyond the interventions on the walls, Banksy created the walled-off hotel, a hotel that intentionally offers the worst view in the world: the separation wall between Israel and Palestine. The purpose is simple yet profound: to make each guest confront, unfiltered, the harsh reality lived there. Thus, in Bethlehem, even the walls become silent witnesses of a people who still dream of freedom. We now journey towards the Judean desert. We advance through sun-baked hills and deep valleys, where silence has carved refuges of faith among rocks and abysses. It is in this arid landscape that one of the oldest jewels of Christian spirituality is hidden: the monastery of Mar Saba. Built on the rocky slopes of the West Bank, about 15 kilometers from Bethlehem, Mar Saba impresses with its architecture that blends with the desert. Founded in 483 AD by Saint Sabas, a monk venerated by the Greek Orthodox Church, the monastery was established as a refuge of total isolation, a space dedicated to prayer, penance, and contemplation. Despite all the challenges posed by the Judean desert, its relentless heat, extreme dryness, and absolute isolation, Mar Saba has managed to preserve its spiritual practices uninterruptedly for over 1,500 years. Founded in the 5th century, this sanctuary carved into the rocky slope has become synonymous with resilience, devotion, and contemplation. Even today, its austere routine is followed faithfully, including ancient and rigid traditions, such as the restricted access to women, who cannot cross its gates and can only admire its grandeur from a distance, atop the hills. This symbolic separation reinforces the atmosphere of retreat and prayer of the place. The rigidity of monastic customs remains a living heritage, a testament of faith against the adversities imposed by time and nature, transforming Mar Saba not only into a sacred place, but also into one of the most emblematic spiritual symbols of the Holy Land. Yet, beyond the silent high walls of the monastery, the desert holds even deeper and more ancient stories that predate Mar Saba by thousands of years. One such story is that of Jericho, considered by many scholars and archaeologists to be the oldest city in the world. Situated in one of the most arid regions of the earth, Jericho is paradoxically an extraordinary example of survival and continuity. With over 10,000 years of continuous occupation, this millennial oasis was the cradle of fundamental innovations for humanity, such as organized agriculture, systematic cultivation, and the construction of the earliest known stone fortifications. The soil of Jericho conceals layers upon layers of civilizations that overlap, each building its history upon the remnants of the previous, as if time there did not flow but accumulated in silence, like pages of a millennia-old book written in stone, clay, and dust. Among these marks of the past, one stands out with symbolic force: the walls of Jericho, built about 8,000 years ago. They are among the oldest defensive structures ever revealed by modern archaeology. According to biblical tradition, these colossal walls miraculously collapsed to the sound of trumpets played by Joshua's army, opening the way for the Israelites to conquer Canaan. In the texts of the New Testament, Jericho appears as the stage for transformative moments. It was near this city that Jesus healed a blind man, and where Zacchaeus, a despised tax collector, climbed a tree just to see the Master pass by and ended up having his life completely transformed. But how has Jericho resisted for so many centuries amid such a harsh, arid, and unforgiving desert? The answer lies in one of its greatest natural secrets: water. Thanks to the presence of underground springs like the Fountain of Elisha, combined with ancient irrigation techniques developed by its first inhabitants, Jericho has flourished as a true oasis amidst the barrenness. Here, life has conquered the desert. Greenery has sprouted where there should only be dust. It is a continuous miracle of human resilience and wisdom, where knowledge and care for the land have ensured the permanence of one of the oldest cities still in existence. However, it is not just the human presence that pulses around this unlikely oasis. Wildlife, too, has found ways to adapt, resist, and even prosper in the face of relentless heat and constant scarcity. On the golden slopes of the Judean desert, one animal stands out for its agility and lightness: the Nubian ibex. This elegant wild goat is one of the great specialists in defying gravity. With hooves specially adapted to grip even the smallest ledges, the ibex scales steep cliffs with astonishing confidence and precision, as if walking on invisible paths. Its vertiginous leaps, which can exceed 2 meters in height, are essential for escaping predators and overcoming the obstacles of its mountainous environment. Amidst the hard rocks and suffocating heat, the ibex represents the silent beauty of resilience, a pure portrait of life that insists on overcoming the impossible. When the heat of the day dissipates and night covers the desert with its dark and cold mantle, another creature awakens to take its post: the barn owl. It is discreet but lethal. Its light plumage blends perfectly with the pale sand under the faint starlight, making it nearly invisible to its prey. Anatomical details make this bird an almost supernatural hunter. Its wings have been shaped by evolution to fly in near total silence. This stealthy flight allows it to approach small rodents or insects unnoticed and undetected. With large, fixed eyes that catch even the smallest reflection and incredibly sharp hearing, it detects the slightest movement on the ground, even from a distance. It is a hunter of infinite patience. And in the desert, where every gesture consumes energy and every mistake can be fatal, patience is not just a virtue, it is synonymous with survival. With the first ray of sunlight touching the stones, the Egyptian vulture appears in the skies, small, fast, and much smarter than it appears. Unlike other vultures, it is among the rare animals that use tools. It precisely chooses stones to break ostrich eggs and feed, a strategy as rare as it is ingenious. In an environment where only the most adaptable survive, the desert becomes the ultimate testing ground of nature. There are landscapes that challenge the common sense of life, and the Negev desert, on the shores of the Dead Sea, is one of them. Despite the severe climate and desolate appearance, this territory was the cradle of civilizations that knew how to resist and flourish where few would dare to live. Nomadic tribes, Nabatean traders, ancient Egyptian miners, modern pilgrims, and travelers all faced the same challenge: adapt or disappear. And in the midst of the relentless heat of the Negev, a hunter breaks the stillness. The caracal. It does not wait. It acts. At the slightest noise, it springs like a tensioned spring. Its leaps can exceed 3 meters. In midair, it takes down birds as if it defies gravity. Its hind legs, tense like bowstrings, are its answer to the cruel laws of the desert, a place where hesitation means losing everything. And when we look up to the sky, the desert reveals hunters coming from the heights. The peregrine falcon, owner of the fastest dive on Earth, plummets from the heavens at over 300 kilometers per hour, a winged, silent, and relentless bolt. Its eyes see movements at great distances, and its wings retract like sharp blades. In the air, it reigns supreme, gravity itself seeming to bend before such precision. But not all survival requires speed or brute strength. Some creatures have triumphed in the desert through cunning and transformation. Like the common chameleon, the absolute master of adaptation and the silent language of skin. Contrary to what many imagine, it does not change color only to hide. It communicates with the world through its body, light tones to reflect heat, dark tones to absorb energy at dawn, and its eyes? 2 mobile towers of vigilance. Each rotates independently, focusing in opposite directions, hunting and protecting itself simultaneously. With a tongue as fast as a snap of the fingers, it shoots out in milliseconds to capture prey, a living, precise, and deadly weapon. Each creature of the desert is a living lesson in how nature not only resists, it reinvents itself. Now imagine, effortlessly floating on the waters of a lake where nothing lives, a place where the water stings the eyes but heals the skin. It may seem strange, but this place exists. At 430 meters below sea level lies the lowest point on Earth's land surface, the enigmatic Dead Sea. Despite its name, it is not a sea but an extreme salt lake with a concentration 10 times higher than that of oceans, an inhospitable environment for any form of life, yet full of human history, legends, and rituals. Ancient Egyptians used its minerals to mummify their dead. Cleopatra sought the secrets of eternal beauty there, using the unique mineral-rich mud of the region. King Herod, impressed by the value and mystery of this place, had luxurious palaces built around it. And today, travelers from around the world come to the Dead Sea for its benefits. They float in its dense waters, rest in the dark, mineral mud, immersed in a landscape that seems like a delusion sculpted by time. For millennia, the Jordan River sustained the Dead Sea, feeding its salty waters. But since the 1960s, Israel, Jordan, and Syria have diverted much of this flow to supply cities and plantations. Today, less than 5% of the water that once reached the Dead Sea still flows to it. With almost no replenishment and intense evaporation, the lake's level drops by more than a meter each year. As these waters recede, the surrounding soil begins to give way. Huge holes suddenly open up, the dreaded sinkholes. They swallow crops, highways, entire buildings, transforming the landscape. If nothing is done, in just a few decades, the Dead Sea could be reduced to small, isolated pools. The scene that now fascinates the world may become just a memory. For now, the Dead Sea still resists. Still, it witnesses the passage of time. Its waters hold memories of when vigorous rivers fed it and cities thrived around it. Today, it reflects the sky like a forgotten mirror, a reminder that here, the laws of the world bow to ancient, invisible forces shaped by the earth, by fire, and by memory. Now imagine yourself cornered on the top of an arid mountain. On the horizon, thousands of enemy soldiers advance relentlessly. There is no escape, no help. Only the choice remains: freedom or submission. This was the decision faced by nearly 1,000 Jewish men, women, and children 2,000 years ago. In the scorching heart of the Judean desert, on the shores of the Dead Sea, the history of Masada stands, an eternal cry of resistance. Built by Herod in the 1st century BC, Masada was an isolated and nearly impregnable fortress, with palaces, cisterns, and storerooms carved into the rock. But it was during the First Jewish Revolt that it became the stage for one of history's most dramatic episodes. Surrounded by Roman troops, about 960 Jews chose to take their own lives, rather than live under the empire's dominion. An extreme act that made Masada an eternal symbol of freedom and courage. Walking among its ruins, especially at sunrise, is like turning the living pages of a story written with sacrifice. Heading south, the desert begins to fold. The hills undulate as if breathing. And then, before us, is revealed a vision that defies the real. Maktesh Ramon, a colossal crater stretching 40 kilometers in length and 10 in width. But it was not created by volcanoes, nor by meteors. Maktesh is something even rarer, a sculpture made only by erosion, by the force of time and nature, a phenomenon almost exclusive to this forgotten piece of the planet. And thus, we conclude our journey through Israel and Palestine, a territory where history, faith, and nature intertwine like few others. If you enjoyed the video and were enchanted by the landscapes we explored, leave a like and help the channel continue to grow. Thank you, and go in peace.